Alright guys, welcome back to another one of my vlogs. This one's again gonna talk about how racism was shown through the novel and how Harper Lee was trying to incorporate that and just give evidence, I guess. So I ended my last vlog concerning this topic with like small and brief examples in chapter 1 and 2 that I said a lot of people may not have realized or just quickly just read over, not even realizing that that was an example of racism. But in chapter 3, which is what I'm going to be talking a lot about now, it's really where the racism starts to lead up. So there's not like plain and evident examples, but we learn of Calpurnia, who's basically, I think I'm saying that name right, who's basically the Finch's colored servant. And so I think this chapter is a really good lead up to all the racism that's going to occur later. And it's also just a little bit in here too, the fact that they even have a colored servant, and we don't know if this is normal, we don't know if this is just everything that the successful people in Macomb County do, but we really see that this woman does pretty much everything for the family. Like page 31, just small examples. We see Jem ran to the kitchen and asked Calpurnia to set an extra plate. We had company. Page 32, Atticus Simone summoned Calpurnia, who returned bearing the syrup pitcher. She stood waiting for Walter to help himself. And yeah, I think those are just examples of like how she's being a servant, but not only is she the servant, we learn also that she's like the mother of the family, I guess you could say, or the caretaker. And this says a lot more about Atticus and how he runs his household, him letting Calpurnia not just be the servant who like does everything for them, but also the caregiver and the caretaker, the fact that she's colored. So we see a really good example of this in page 32 and 33. Basically what's going on in the chapter is Walter, Scout and her brother's new friend Walter. They invited Walter over for lunch since he hadn't eaten, blah blah blah. And so then Walter comes and Scout's pretty much just being rude to him for no reason because he eats weird or something. And so we see this. It was then that Calpurnia requested my presence in the kitchen. She was furious, and when she was furious, Calpurnia's grammar became erratic. When in tranquility, her grammar was good as anybody's in Macomb. Atticus said Calpurnia had more education than most colored folks. When she squinted down at me, the tiny lines around her eyes deepened. There's some folks who don't eat like us, she whispered fiercely, but you ain't called on to contradict them at the table when they don't. That boy's your company. If he wants to eat up the tablecloth, you let him. You hear? He ain't company, Cal. He's just a Cunningham. Hush your mouth. Don't matter who they are. Anybody sets foot in this house, your company, and don't you let me catch you remarking on their ways like you was so high and mighty. Your folks might be better than the Cunninghams, but it don't count for nothing the way you're disgracing them. If you can't act fit to eat at the table, you can just sit here and eat in the kitchen. Calpurnia sent me through the swinging door to the dining room with a stinging smack. I retrieved my plate and finished dinner in the kitchen, thankful though that I was spared the humiliation of facing them again. I told Calpurnia to just wait. I'd fix her. One of these days when she wasn't looking, I'd go off and drown myself and she'd be sorry. So that's, I think, a really good example of how Calpurnia is basically not only a servant but also just their caregiver and caretaker, and that I think is really saying a lot about how Atticus runs his household. Not a lot of white people back in the day would let colored people take care of their kids. Instead it was no, colored people are only able to be servants, they're only able to, like, they don't even really want them to interact with their children. But Atticus is literally letting Calpurnia basically raise his own kids. And so I think that says a lot. Since chapter 1 and 2, the examples I gave, it could have been confusing with Atticus saying like we're successful but we're poor. And so I think this really clears it up, how Atticus is like trying, he's not for racism. His family doesn't work like that. Instead, he's, I think, has sympathy for them, doesn't like the whole situation in general, and it really gets you thinking about his intentions, and then also just the family's intentions in general, and what their morals are, and yeah, etc. And that's it.